What's up, Jets Nation, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, coming to you from a hotel room in London because I had to jump on for this emergency press conference because there's big news for the New York Jets in the NFL today. And the New York Jets have traded defensive end Jermaine Johnson to the Tennessee Titans for nose tackle slash defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat. Obviously, huge news for Jets fans, and the timing's not that surprising. You know, every executive and head coach is in Indianapolis right now for the NFL scouting combine. So this is where the rumors and the chit chat starts to all happen. So not surprising that it happened. But as a Jets fan, while you may be okay with the trade and you may be happy with the trade, I think you're still sad to see Jermaine Johnson go. And the reason for that is you feel like he was someone who was always going to be part of the solution here. Um, and I just want to jump on for these like 5 minutes just to talk about it since it is an emergency press conference. But like I said, you feel like Jermaine Johnson was going to be a part of the solution. He was always a guy who was like super motivated to be a Jet. He would always talk about how much this matters to him and how important it was to turn this around and be a part of that solution. And it's unfortunate that it didn't happen. And unfortunately, he's just another first round pick in a line of multiple that have never made it here. And he could make it somewhere else. He could do well with the Tennessee Titans, but it feels like he was on the upward trajectory to be one of the better defensive ends that we've had in a while. And then unfortunately and ironically, he tears his Achilles in Tennessee at the beginning of not this past season, but 2 seasons ago, and he just never really recovered. He wasn't the same. He didn't play well this year, and kind of disappeared at moments, and then started to become, one of those annoyed, angry Jets players that we've seen over and over again. And yeah, it's really just sad how it all worked out. But let's talk more about the deal. So obviously, Jermaine Johnson gets traded to Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh obviously has a lot of comfortability with Jermaine Johnson. Loves the guy. I mean, he seems like a great dude. So I'm not surprised that Robert Saleh wanted to bring him on board. And Robert Saleh actually just spoke the other day at the NFL Combine about Tavondre Sweat, about how they were going to use him, how it was going to be difficult for him to switch because Tennessee was going from a 3-4 to a 4-3. This triggers to me the fact that we traded for Tavondre Sweat, that we are switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4. So we're doing the exact opposite of what Tennessee is doing, which makes this this makes total sense for both sides. And for the Jets, from our perspective, we're getting a guy who's about 3 to 4 years younger than Jermaine Johnson. I think Tavondre Sweat's 24. Jermaine's about to be 28. So Jermaine was always an older prospect. And Tavondre Sweat still has 2 years on his contract. He's super cheap, while Jermaine Johnson is owed like $12 million this year. So the fact that Tennessee is taking all that money and we're only paying, I think it's $1.5 million against the cap this year. I think it's $3 million total over 2 years for a guy who's a rising defensive tackle in the NFL. I think that's a great move for us. And while I love Jermaine and while I love, I loved having him on the team, you know, I don't really need to be extending a 28-year-old or 29-year-old who hasn't been playing well. So it probably made sense to make a move like this. And the Jets were looking to trade him during the trade deadline. I think they were asking for a second round pick, but they weren't able to get one. I think they got offered a 3 by the 49ers and Robert Saleh. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But Tavondre Sweat, let's talk about him a little bit. This guy is a monster. Like I said, he's a rising talent where he's probably a solid 2 down player right now, meaning he'll stop the run. He's 366 pounds, so he's just going to sit and plop in the middle and be able to hold the fort while the linebackers can run around and make plays, which should help guys like a Jamie and Sherwood and whichever other linebacker we bring in this year. So I'm actually very excited to get him. He does have pass rush ability, but it's not something that's very prominent right now. Obviously, he's 366 pounds, so quarterbacks need to hold the ball a little bit longer for him to get there. It takes a little bit, but he is pretty athletic for how big he is. And then what this does is it allows us to now switch to this 3-4, where you have Tavondre Sweat in the middle. You can play around with Harrison Phillips, Jawan Briggs. Maybe you bring in someone else to play the defensive line. I know the Badlands guys were throwing around Javon Hargrave today as a potential option. We'll see. And then from there, you've got your two middle linebackers, and then you got your two outside rushers, which could be a Will McDonald, who it sounds like Darren Muji said we're going to pick up his fifth-year option, and then potentially whoever we draft. If it was my vote today, it's probably Arvell Reese. It could be a David Bailey, people we've talked about before. But this pretty much locks in that number 2 pick is a pass rusher. Because you're getting rid of Jermaine Johnson, we have no one else. Like, the depth of our pass rush is just non-existent at this point without Jermaine. So you got to expect it's going to be Arvell Reese or David Bailey at pick number 2. So overall, I'm sad to see Jermaine Johnson go. I like the guy. I think he started to fade on me towards the end of last season, though, just because of the comments he was making. It seemed like he really wanted to get out, which, I can't blame him, but, like, keep your comments to yourself. Stop tweeting on social media and all that stuff. And he goes to a good situation. He goes with Robert Saleh. Saleh's got, $100 million to spend this offseason. They've got the number 4 overall pick, and now they've got Jermaine Johnson. And they already have a quarterback. So Tennessee's in a good spot. I'm very curious to see if they extend Jermaine Johnson, just because he is going to be 28 years old during this season. So, and he didn't play well last year, so it depends on how he plays, obviously. But we'll see what they end up doing with him long term, or if it's just a rental. And then for us, we've got Devondre Sweat for 2 years. We just saved a whole bunch of money on the cap, which means we've got like 90 plus million in cap space now. And you got your solidified nose tackle. Now we don't have to draft a defensive tackle in the first 4 picks, which is kind of nice. You can focus on the skill positions. You can focus on, obviously, edge rusher. You can focus on wide receiver, quarterback, safety, corner, linebacker, things like that. And obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about all the things that have happened this week, as well as Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn's press conference. I just wanted to jump on really quick here just to give my initial thoughts on what has happened here with Jermaine Johnson. So I feel bad for all you Jets fans out there who have Jermaine Johnson jerseys. Unfortunately, it's time to hang those up and put them in the closet. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, Devondre Sweat's exciting. I think he's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential. Still young. I think they said he was the number 4 overall rated run stuffer at D-line this past year, which is great to see. So yeah, I think Muji is just doing a really good job with these trades, and I'm hoping that he can be a solid player for us in the future and kind of stick around. So that's all I've got. Sad for Jermaine Johnson. Hope he does well, but not when he plays against the Jets. When we go to Nashville, I don't know what week yet. We'll find out in May. But yeah, I hope he does well, just because I always liked him as a player and wish he was a part of the turnaround. But that's all I've got for today. Obviously, I'll be back in New York this weekend. I'll be able to do a real pod with a real background, with real internet that works and a good camera. So just wanted to hop on really quick and talk about this trade. So thank you all for listening. Please like, rate, subscribe, review all across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, JuicyJet25. That would greatly help me if you could follow. And otherwise, I will talk to you all later this weekend. See ya and enjoy all of the Combine news.